Hey guys, welcome back. Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm not going to be reviewing an NES game. Instead, we're going to do a Not So Retro Review. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing the latest launch from Nintendo, the Nintendo Switch. So let me start off by saying I'm not affiliated with Nintendo in any way. They didn't give me a Switch, I didn't get any kind of review copy of anything, and I haven't even been in contact with them. I lined up at 10:30 at night and waited till 8 in the morning for the store that I chose to open so I could get a Switch, and I was fourth in line. It was quite the struggle since, as most of you may not know, I live in Canada and it was freezing cold that night. It was actually quite a chilly night to be outside. We had had quite a few warm days, but that night decided to be quite cold and we actually got snow flurries. Just to give you an idea of what I wore, 4 pairs of pants, 3 t-shirts, 4 sweaters, a jacket, a pair of gloves, winter boots, a hat, and a hoodie. And I was still freezing out there. Oh, not to mention I had a blanket, and I still froze my buns off just to get the Nintendo's newest product. I know I sound a bit like a fanboy by saying that, but let me clarify a little bit with what my history is when it comes to video games. I've actually owned every Xbox, every PlayStation, and every Nintendo system that's come out. So I have been a little bit more exposed to everything. Do I like Nintendo? Yeah. But I also like PlayStation and I also like Xbox. I've been the type of person that's willing to play anything as long as it is enjoyable. Now, I will admit that I've kind of lost interest in Nintendo due to their last choices that they've made. The Wii U being called a Wii U confused a lot of the market. They all thought that it was a peripheral for the Wii. I wasn't really a fan of that because that means that a lot of people weren't interested, and in turn, third party wasn't interested in making video games for them. Secondly, I didn't like the fact that they were using last generation technology in order to make games for new generations. Given Nintendo actually competes in a very different market than PlayStation and Xbox. But in the end, we're all gamers, and in the end, we're all interested in what's the newest and the brightest out there. And the Wii U fell to the side. So people are complaining that the Switch isn't as powerful as the Xbox or the PlayStation's newest generation. Yes, they're right, it's not as powerful. Nintendo can make up for it to a degree with their art style. But where Nintendo really is the powerhouse of the gaming generation right now is the fact that you can pick it up and go. Now, if Nintendo can get something like Call of Duty, Far Cry, the Soul series on their Switch, it would be an absolute game changer. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've gone to a family event and my brother and I are sitting side by side and we can't play a game because both of our systems are sitting back at home not being used. But with the Switch, we could both take it with us, pull out our Switch, put on a game of Call of Duty or put on a game of Dark Souls and start playing right then and there while we're sitting out and we're face to face with each other. We don't have to lug a TV, we don't have to lug a big system, we don't have to lug extra cables, just the Switch and the Joy-Cons. That would be amazing. That's where Nintendo can actually own the field. Now let's speak about the hardware, the physical hardware. First of all, the coolest thing ever is the fact that you can actually remove these Joy-Cons. And the cool thing with the Joy-Cons is that there are 2 of them. So if you have certain games, like 1-2 Switch, you can actually hand one over to a friend, you've got your own, and you've got your screen with its tiny little kickstand right here. You can stand that on the table and all of a sudden you've got a gaming session right there with your friends. They're built quite well. I haven't had any creaking or groaning, the buttons aren't loose in any way, and they respond exactly how they're supposed to. Yes, there's a bit of a complaint about the fact that the joystick is right underneath the buttons. That does make it a little bit uncomfortable, but you do have to understand that this is a handheld. Any extra real estate that they use in order to make the controller more comfortable is going to make the game bigger. And that's not what you want when you're trying to take this on the go. I do think they could have made the system slightly thicker in order to add a bit of a better battery, but it's a choice that they made, and I don't think it's the end of the world. You only get about 2.5 hours with Zelda, maybe 3 depending on what your brightness and your Wi-Fi settings are. To me, that's enough. Mind you, I don't ride the bus for a long time. I don't take a lot of trips on airplanes. If I'm in that situation, yeah, that might be a bit of a big problem. But you can also buy a battery pack. I know you have to buy a peripheral in order to get enough battery out of your Switch, but a battery pack is much better than going with nothing. Now, when we compare this to the 3DS, They're very different beasts, even though they're in the same realm. The 3DS was extremely pocketable, but the games were also quite small, they were played in short sessions, and the graphics were reduced a whole lot more than what you would have seen on the Wii or the Wii U. They were still very nice, and you did get 3D, which I personally am a huge fan of. I own the PSVR because I love 3D so much. Yes, you only get a 720p screen, but when you're looking at a 6-inch screen as tiny as this thing is, 720p doesn't look any worse than 1080p would. I know I'm going to have some people who are very, very adamant at 1080p and that's the only way they want to go, but to the average user like myself, 720p does just well enough. The contrast and the colors on this thing are phenomenal. I've played half my time in handheld, half my time on my big screen, and I've enjoyed it just as much in both instances. On my big screen, you do get 1080p, but you do have a bit of a frame drop when it comes to Zelda. Whether that's because it's pushing more graphics than it's able to handle, or there's some kind of patch that just doesn't work well with the Zelda game, and when it comes to 1080p, I don't know, I'm not a developer, I can't tell you what it is. I did find that it was smoother in handheld. Either way though, I had a lot of fun playing Zelda. When it comes to the Joy-Cons, it comes with a grip that you can slide your Joy-Cons into, and it turns it into what more or less would be a regular controller. The shape is still slightly different, but I haven't found any real issues with it. I was able to pick it up and start playing instantly and not have to fumble around with what the buttons do, where they are, how they work. I was able to get it going right away. But because of those reviews that I had heard about the Joy-Cons being slightly uncomfortable and disconnecting, I did get myself a Pro Controller. There's not much to say about it. It's the same as the Wii U's Pro Controller. It's great, it's comfortable, it fits well in my hands, it plays perfectly, and I haven't had any issues. Great battery life and everything. If you want to have the real genuine experience of a console, I would suggest getting the Pro Controller, but it is rather expensive. Just give the Joy-Cons a try in the grip, and then decide if you want the Pro Controller or not. I probably wouldn't have bought the Pro Controller if I would have known how comfortable I was with the Joy-Cons. Do I regret it? Not really. Now, the Switch only has 32 gigabytes of memory. Before you run out and actually buy an SD card, just think about these things. Zelda's only 13 gigabytes, and that's the only major game that's out right now. Every other game is quite small. So before you go out and spend extra money on things that you may not necessarily need, like a Pro Controller and an SD card, just try the Switch the way it is. You did just spend a ton of money on the console. Try to save money while you can and spend that money on video games. There's quite a few choices out there, and they're all quite small and they'll fit on the hard drive. And if it's a bigger game, just buy the actual cartridge and you don't have to install anything onto your hard drive. It's great. So lastly, my thoughts on the Switch. I lined up for 9 to 10 hours to get my Switch. I froze out there. But I met some cool people, I had a really good time, I got to hang out with my brother and my friends and a couple of strangers that I made friends with out there, and even a dog. One guy brought his dog out there to keep him warm, and we had a great time. Would I do it again? Not for a while, I still feel a bit of frostbite after that one. But was it worth it? In my opinion, yes. I think Switch is going to have a very, very long and strong life if Nintendo plays their cards right. Get some third-party support, push the games on this system to be as powerful as they can be, and I guarantee you everybody's going to lap it up. Being able to take your Switch wherever you go is a huge game changer. If you do have the money, then when shipment comes in, go out and get it. But if you can't, don't die. There's not a lot of selection in games right now, and that's kind of a downside. But I can tell you myself, all I've been playing is Zelda. I've put in over 40 hours, and I've still only beaten 2 temples. There's a lot of potential in this system. I think it has a great life ahead of it, and hopefully everybody else will agree. But all we can do is sit and wait. Give it a year, we'll see what Nintendo does, and hopefully what they do is going to change the game the way that they've changed it with the Switch. Anyways guys, until next time.